Hey everyone, welcome to Anime Girls Profile Potential. Joe, Lady Jaye. And what's interesting about Lady Jaye's character is sites like Wikipedia at original nothing more. But apparently, I guess within just one season, they decided, you know what, let's round. This was indicated. Next toy line for G.I. Joe in '85 came around, and she was included in it. Basically, according to Wikipedia and all the other sites out there, Lady Jaye would go on to be the second. When it came to Generation 1 of G.I. Joe, 83 to 87, and then basically, when the series came back, basically, like I said, she's the Wikipedia and all the other sites out there. She is the Generation 1 ran from 1983 to 1987, and then 1989 to 1991, when you count Dick's Dick's involvement. She was part of that series run at least for the first season, and then according to Wikipedia and several of the sites out there, she disappeared after the second season. It's like Flint, who was her love interest in G.I. Joe. When he came on board in the second season of the Dick animated creation, she was removed. They also said that when Dick took over for the 89 to 91 run, that she had a bit of a change in her character. Like her personality changed a little bit. Like maybe it was I don't know how much her character changed really. Yeah, she still looked the same. The only difference was her outfit was like tinted blue or aqua blue or tinted blue. So yeah, like I said, she had been around for quite some time, and she continues to be one of the most popular, I think, G.I. Joe characters out there to this day. Because what's funny is trivia some of you guys may not know about. When G.I. Joe comic bounced from publisher to publisher after Marvel. Like I said, after Marvel, they bounced from publisher to publisher, and what happened was, I think it was Devil's Due comics, I believe. Basically, Devil's Due comic. They, like I say, it was actually okay. Basically, I'm trying to look at the information and make sure I get it right. After Marvel, like I said, Devil's Due over the publishing rights, and basically the storyline, according to Wikipedia here, was the Joes were disbanded. Lady Jaye had married Flint, which a lot of people pretty much assumed was going to happen, and that when G.I. Joe was reformed, many Joes commented that her marriage seemed to mellow out Flint, basically have a positive effect on him in the later years, because this takes place years after a Real American, the Marvel run, and the Sunbow run. However, here's the proof that tells you Lady Jaye is very important to the G.I. Joe franchise. She's a very popular character. Basically, during the Devil's Due run on the G.I. Joe comic, she is killed by the Red Shadows, by a Red Shadows member named Della Eden, while trying to save Flint. And basically, later on in a comic called G.I. Joe America's Elite, they do show when she's born, which is 1966, but we see that when Flint visits her grave. Now, Lady Jaye would also appear in Devil's Due's G.I. Joe vs. Transformers series and in the Dreamwave Transformers G.I. Joe. Now, according to Wikipedia, IDW, when they took over the rights, and I think they still have the rights, it says here when IDW, known as Idea and Design Works, acquired the G.I. Joe license from Hasbro 8 years ago, they began publishing a new monthly series that completely ignored any previous continuity. Hasbro later this is Hasbro, listen here. This is what's important. This kind of proves how popular and how important she is even to Hasbro. Hasbro later officially declared the entire Devil's Due run non-canonical. In other words, doesn't have nothing to do with G.I. Joe, that isn't a part of G.I. Joe. It doesn't exist. It's like you get the comics, read them, but they have no importance whatsoever in the history of the book. So basically, Lady Jaye's death in during the comic run by Devil's Due, completely wiped out of existence. It's like with Threshold on Star Trek Voyager. Everybody says that that's non-canon, doesn't exist, even though you could see it out of continuity. That's what Hasbro did with the Devil's Due run. They basically said, look, these guys went a little too... They probably thought, hey, these guys went a little too far. They did something they shouldn't have done. We're going to completely ignore it. And by doing so, they mentioned that Lady Jaye's first appearance in the new continuity was in Cobra issue number 6 in 2011 in October 2011. It also states in the IDW run that Lady Jaye is also once again a main character in IDW's continuation of the original Real American Hero series. Her and Flint's relationship is continuing as it was in the original Marvel comic and I guess the Sunbow series. It does state that in the issue before the 175th issue, that in 174 she is severely wounded, and Flint basically orders medical treatment for her. Basically ignoring the orders he had gotten beforehand, and Jay tries to convince him that the mercenary's intelligence is more important than her life. Now, Flint does have Roadblock and other members of the team agree to keep Flint's wavering a secret, and Lady Jaye is rushed into surgery upon the return to the pit. And it does state that though unaware of what Flint nearly did, General Hawk tells Flint that he has decided the two of them, both Flint and Lady Jaye, won't be assigned to the same team again to avoid any possible complications from the romantic attachment. So, in other words, basically what the IDW comic is doing right now, with the multi run of G.I. Joe comics, is, I don't know if they changed it up or anything by now, because I don't know when issue 174 took place, but basically they're doing something that I'm pretty sure had the original run of the original Generation 1 run of the series, Sunbow, or even comic book wise by Marvel, had continued, that they probably would have gone in this direction, because it's pretty much indicated in the cartoon and in the comics that these two are together. And if you want any further proof, even Transformers plays a role as well in season 3, because the character that debuts there, the human character that debuts in that series, Marissa Fairborn, is actually the daughter of Flint and Lady Jaye. And this is later confirmed by Flint Dilley, who worked on the series, as well as some other research as well, that Flint and Lady Jaye's that Marissa Fairborn is Flint and Lady Jaye's daughter, thus basically bridging the continuity between both G.I. Joe and Transformers. And if you want any further proof of that, there's an episode called Only Human that's in Transformers that basically kind of bridges that even more. It bridges it even more. But here's what really is interesting about Lady Jaye. Not only is she the second most seen character in all of G.I. Joe Generation 1, but I hate to say this, and I just watched the episode The Viper is Coming from my DVD set, and although Scarlett shined in that, it reminded me how badass and how funny at times Scarlett can be, and how down-to-earth serious she can be too, and how much of a leader she can be. As much as the episode The Viper is Coming did that, I hate to say this, but Lady Jaye, just within her first appearance in the Generation 1 cartoon in the comic, up to the end, probably became more popular than Scarlett ever could have dreamed of. I mean, she basically overshadowed Scarlett. If you want proof, she's one of the first female characters in the continuation courtesy of Dick Entertainment. One of the first female characters to be seen on the G.I. Joe side. And if that's and Scarlett isn't shown until later on, I think. And if that's not enough, how about the fact that um, she is the only female, according to Wikipedia, the only female Joe to appear in the direct-to-video cartoon Old Soldiers Never Die, which was the only cartoon appearance of Sergeant Savage and his Screaming Eagles. According to Wikipedia, this was also produced by Sunbow Productions, the same company that produced the original Real American cartoon. It says that Lady Jaye, along with Duke and Hawk, Lady Jaye along with Duke, well, no, not Duke, but along with Doc and Hawk, Lady Jaye, along with them, were part of the team that rescued Sergeant Savage from chronological storage. These three Joes, according to Wikipedia, appear in this cartoon perhaps as a way of bridging the change from the Real American Hero storyline comic cartoon continuity to the new Sergeant Savage line. The theory, according to this, is further bolstered by a cameo appearance from Cobra Commander. It says that in that incarnation as well, Lady Jaye's hair is blonde and approximately shoulder length. So in other words, I guess, to bridge the gap and time-wise, they wanted to show that she kind of grew it out and maybe dyed her hair or something. I don't know. She does appear in several G.I. Joe spin-offs. She appears in G.I. Joe Renegades, where she's portrayed as a Latin American and is voiced by Nikki Furman. But in G.I. Joe Renegades, she puts together according to this, she puts together the Joe team for Scarlett's mission to Cobra's pharmaceuticals. And it says that when the Joes become outlaws, she is assigned to assist Flint in capturing them. It says, owing Duke a favor for saving her life, as well as believing they are innocent, Lady Jaye quietly helps whenever possible. Her actions are always carefully hidden to keep Flint from discovering the truth. Now, according to this, it says in an interview with writer Henry Gilroy, who wrote for Renegades, Gilroy stated that the relationships between Flint and Lady Jaye and Scarlett and Snake Eyes would be evolving as the series progressed. Now, she also appears in the G.I. Joe Resolute film, which is more the adult continuation of G1, and has a TV 14 rating. So, yeah, there you go there. But yeah, she's appeared probably more so than any other female Joe character, from CoverGirl to Scarlett to Jinx. She's appeared more so, and that's why they complimented that. In fact, her appearances expand even beyond that into the live-action field, because she was portrayed by Adrian Palick in G.I. Joe Retaliation. Now, what's interesting about Lady Jaye is, just like with all the G.I. Joe characters, she has a fictional bio. She does. Fictional bio basically says that her real name, is Allison R. Hart Burnett. Her rank is that of Staff Sergeant E6. Now, she was born in Martha's Vineyard, Massachusetts. So yeah, Lady Jaye, you can tell Hasbro wanted to do something with her, and boy, did they ever. They basically showed that here you had a female that could be feminine, but could be tomboyish, and be romantic, but can be badass. So Hasbro basically gave Lady Jaye that total package. Not saying they didn't give Scarlett it or CoverGirl, but it seems that the main focus, as soon as Lady Jaye made her appearance, it's like that was the main focus as far as female leads go in G.I. Joe. I mean, if you want even further proof, she is basically the G.I. Joe equivalent to what Zartan, Baroness, and Zarana are for Cobra. Yeah, basically Scarlet is the equivalent G.I. Joe equivalent of what Zarana and Baroness and even Zartan are for them, for Cobra. Basically, she is a master of disguise. But here's the thing: unlike the Baroness and Zarana and Zartan, she doesn't have to completely change her appearance. She basically has, I guess, a background in acting. Obviously, she has European Ireland roots, and she uses this to her advantage when she has to go undercover. Heck, she's even gone undercover in G1 as the Baroness. So, yeah. So, yeah, she has that total, that goes, so yeah, this all goes back to her having that total package kind of deal. It's like, wow, I didn't expect her to have all this added to her character, but yet here it is. And if that's not enough, we also get a little bit of background on her as well. We get a bit of background on her in G1, in Generation 1. Basically, there's an episode dedicated to her learning about, I think, her family history or something. And at the end, she finds out, because she encounters him, and I think along with him, she finds out at the end of the episode that both her and Destro are distant cousins. So in other words, for Lady Jaye, this fight against Cobra isn't just now about protecting the innocent, protecting the world, and everything. But now it's become, from Cobra, but now it's become personal. It's become a family issue in a sense, because now she's fighting somewhat of a relative in Destro. So, to me, I don't know what else to say, besides, damn. Hasbro really put all their eggs into one basket with this character, and it's like, you couldn't ask for anything else as far as the character is concerned. I mean, think about this. You have all these shows nowadays, and even back in the 80s and 90s, where you would have a lead female character, or co-lead female character, or a main female character, period. And yet, as much as I hate to say this, they wouldn't have that total package given to them to really excel at being that character, or being who they are. But yet, when G.I. Joe came out in Hasbro, despite the tight schedule and the fact that they had to get certain episodes, if not most episodes, out on time so they can coincide with what toys were being released and stuff like that. Despite all that behind-the-scenes drama, it seems the writers were very dedicated to making Lady Jaye more than she can be. And they did that. And I appreciate them for that. I really do. Because here's what's funny. Back when I was a kid, I used to watch Transformers, G.I. Joe, and heck, even with my sisters, if it was raining or I was bored, I didn't go outside, I would watch My Little Pony and Jem, and He-Man and She-Ra. I would watch some. Being an 80s kid, I would watch any 80s cartoon that I liked that was based on something I was a fan of. Mask, you name it, Voltron, you name it. And not saying neither of those shows didn't have strong female characters too. They did. And they portrayed them as best they could, but what was funny is as a kid, when I would watch G.I. Joe, it's not that I didn't like Duke or Scarlet. I was a fan of them. Like I said, when I saw The Viper is Coming recently, just earlier today, it reminded me how much of a badass Scarlet can be. But anytime I watched G.I. Joe back as a kid, as much as I enjoyed watching what Duke and Scarlet can do individually and as a team, I was always looking forward to seeing Flint and Lady Jaye. Always looking forward to seeing them. And I think it's because I can relate in a sense that when you look at Scarlet and Duke, even though they never indicated it, it's almost like they portrayed them as just being a few years older than Flint and Lady Jaye. And that Flint and Lady Jaye were more portrayed as that young Generation X kind of couple that was a hybrid of, how do I put it? It was a hybrid of the Generation X material, but of that military-like attitude. In other words, it was like a perfect balance for them. It's like they knew how to be cool, how to get down with it, what was hip, at times what was, updated and stuff like that. But they could also be serious. They could also take their job serious. They could crack jokes and all that. Basically, to me, Lady Jaye and Flint were more down to earth at times than Scarlet and and Duke were. That to me is just my honest opinion, because they seem to be more relaxed, more like more like, hey, they could sit back, relax, not let much bother them, but they can also have their moments. They can also have their moments. Now, when it came to G.I. Joe the movie, the 1987 movie, I will say that I wish they would have done more with her. I really do. But it seems that she was just there as fodder, as cannon fodder. She was just there as cannon fodder. Uh, not saying they were going to not saying they were going to kill her off or anything, but it's like she was just there as a body to to be captured by Cobra. In fact, when Joes are captured, with the exception of Roadblock trying to escape from Cobra, she's the last one to be captured. She's the last one to be captured by these plants that mummify their captives. Yeah, they mummify them. They basically wrap the vines around them and mummify them and make them basically part of the tree for that time. Not that they absorb them or anything. They don't absorb them. They just have them hanging there, I guess until they suffocate or die or something. Like, I don't know. But yeah, as far as the 1987 movie goes, yeah, she was in there. She was in the intro for the movie. She had a good moment. She had a good moment in the intro for the movie. She, she played a role. She even had a line when they saw what happened to Cobra Commander, saying he looked inhuman. And like I say, she was the last one to be captured. But when we got to the climax, she had her moments there too. In fact, one of the most iconic moments is when both her and Flint knock down some Cobra mercenaries. Knock out two Cobra mercenaries, and they're both looking right at each other as soon as they're doing it. It's like they're meeting right back up. And another one is where she kind of trips a little bit when they're trying to escape, and Flint has to help her up. But yeah, she has her moments. She has her scenes in it. Could they have done more with her? Could they have excluded her from being part of the Joes that got captured? Absolutely. I mean, my honest opinion, you could have put CoverGirl in the role of Scarlet, and you could have had Scarlet maybe be part of the rescue mission to find Roadblock. But, they didn't do that. And I can understand why, because, they were focusing. It's just like with Transformers. The movie was made to sell new toys and new figures. And the main focus was the Renegade figures. Or not the Renegades, but the Rawhide figures of Falcon and Jinx and Chuckles and Tunnel Rat and Big Lob. That was the main focus as far as the heroes go. So I can understand Lady Jaye being put into the role she was, but I wish they would have expanded it more. I think Retaliation, made up for that in a way, even though that was like, 22 years later? 32 years later? Not 32, 22 years later? What was he here? 26 years later, yeah, 26 years later. They made up for it, so I was glad about that. I was happy about that. Heck, they even made up for it with the Dick animated series, the Dick continuation of the series, of the franchise. They made up for it there, so I give them all the credit in the world. I really do, for at least making up for the lack of Lady Jaye's appearance in the 1987 movie. But like I said, they made up for it in the Operation Dragonfly in Season 1 of the Dick animated series. They've made up for it by having her be the only female character in the, I guess you could say, transition animated movie, with Sergeant Savage, and introduced Sergeant Savage in his only animated appearance. They made up for it with G.I. Joe Renegades. They made up for it big time with the IDW. IDW really helped make up for it. So overall, though, like I said, with the exception of her placement in the 1987 movie, I don't, she has definitely proven that she's definitely proven that you don't judge a book by its cover, because just because she can be gorgeous, she can be feminine, she can be downright sexy at times and sexual, and like she the fact that she has all this all rolled into one, all this stuff rolled into one. I mean, the fact that she could pretend to be a femme fatale and people wouldn't know it and stuff like that. Me, Lady J has the whole freaking package as far as the female Joes go. No disrespect to Scarlett's character, the CoverGirl's character, the Jinx's character, or anybody else's character, but or even the freaking female version of Tunnel Rat. Yeah, they have a female version of, not Tunnel Rat, but the female version of Dial Tone in Resolute. With all due respect to that version of Dial Tone, the female version, like I said, with all due respect, those characters, no one has brought it more than the Lady J's character. I mean, Hasbro, I have to commend them for taking Lady J's character to that next level. Again, I don't think I can say any much more than that, but what can I say about Lady J that I haven't said? What anybody else hasn't said. So that's really all I can say about her. And if you're into G.I. Joe, if you're into strong female characters that could be badasses as well, and just have that total package of being badass, tomboyish, femme fatale, sexual and all that, then Lady J is the character for you. Character for you, and I don't think I can say more than that. Any more than that. So that's all I'm going to say on this 45th edition of the Animated Girls Profile Confidential. Let me know what you guys think down below. Comment if you like, and I am out.